All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Mindful Moment session. My name is Jean, and it's an honor to be able to host these sessions for you all. This week, we are going to be talking about the topic of learning to love yourself in autumn. So, self love includes all aspects of who you are, the joy, the sorrow, the noblest acts, the moments of regret, the inner landscape, the outer actions, the difficult past, and the unknown future. So, today we are going to talk about some aspects of learning to love yourself along with mindfulness. Um, and kind attention with compassion is at the heart of loving yourself. So we want to start the day by wishing ourselves well. So for example, in the morning, we can set up a specific time, maybe along with our mindful practice. So we want to send ourselves good wishes in the morning with a self-directed loving kindness meditation, which you can do along with maybe if you have a usual mindfulness practice in the morning. And during this time, we are going to practice the loving kindness meditation, which we will go over later on in the session. So if it feels strange sometimes to send blessings to yourself instead of others, one method you can try is to call to mind those who you love dearly and imagine that they are sending the wishes to you or you are sending wishes to them. So, another thing we could do is to set the intention to treat ourselves with love. And so, what this means is that it really all begins with the intention to water the seeds of choice for positive growth. So, if you intend to learn how to love yourself or to treat yourself well, um, then it kind of sets the seeds or the foundation for that behavior to start happening. And um, so this will allow you in those difficult situations to go with love for yourself rather than punishing, overindulging, or hurting yourself. And the third thing that we want to keep in mind is to pay attention how we talk to ourselves. And often this is overlooked sometimes. Um, when you notice that you are judging, blaming, or scolding yourself, this will have an effect on your actions because you're telling yourself, you're defining yourself in a certain way. So in these situations, we want to stop and take a breath and to keep in mind that this inner chatter is not part of the state of the loving presence. So letting go of the situation and really loving yourself would mean talking to yourself as you would a good friend. So, as you might have noticed, a lot of these kind of methods to start of learn how to love yourself is focused on treating yourself as you would treat a friend. Um, and having that kind attention with compassion. So, we are also going to go through what's called the three gestures of love that we can do when we are in situations, for example, when we notice that we are talking negatively to ourselves, that inner chatter. This is just as a reminder to ourselves in these situations to remember that kind attention with compassion and treating ourselves well instead of hurting ourselves. So you can start with a physical gesture, such as putting your hand on your heart or maybe placing your palms together as a sign of gratefulness to anchor your body with these phrases of kindness, love, and gratitude. So you might say it's okay to soothe yourself with kindness or thank you to acknowledge with gratitude who you are, the circumstances you're in, and how you're still pulling yourself through them. So during our mindful practice, one thing might be to keep in mind is what types of physical gestures are most suitable for you in stressful situations and kind of practice that um, so that when you actually get to those difficult situations, it will be easier for your mind to gravitate towards these gestures and reminding yourself instead of going further and further down into a rabbit hole. So, before we start our mindful practice, I would like us all to take 3 deep breaths. So, breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. All right, enjoy. All right, now that we are finished with our mindful practice, we will transition to our discussion section. So, thinking about the questions, what are some ways you can show self-care for yourself? And how can we use mindfulness to assist us in learning to love ourselves? So, some ways that we can show self care for ourselves is in those moments of when we notice we have that negative inner chatter or just a negative mindset. In those situations, we learned the three gestures of love. So, finding a physical gesture that can help ground you and realize that this negative chatter is something that's separate from you and you are not in a state of loving presence. So, letting go of that inner chatter and talking to yourself as you would a good friend. And how can we use mindfulness to learn how to love ourselves? Well, in that mindfulness, a big part of it is having that constant awareness. So, having that kind attention and that awareness of yourself along with compassion is really at the heart of loving yourself because you have to realize in that moment of inner chatter that you have to realize that you are in a state where there's negative inner chatter, or else it might continue further. And we can use mindfulness, the loving kindness meditation, to practice learning how to love ourselves as a daily practice, maybe in the mornings, where we wish ourselves well for the day. And also, another part could be journaling, because when we journal, we might recount events in the day, and we might realize that in certain situations, we could have had more self love or self care towards ourselves. And that awareness sets the intention to treat yourself with care and with love. So, the quote for this week is: compassion for others begins with kindness to ourselves. And remember, right now it is October, so we're in autumn, and these are just some pictures that I gathered. Um, so when we look at these pictures, do kind of reminds us of nature and how nature is always open. It's always there for you. And we want to treat ourselves that way too. And this is just a little GIF I found that I think is pretty funny and relevant to what we're talking about this week, which is learning to love yourself. So love yourself, be nice to yourself, believe in yourself, and save a cookie for yourself. And I would like to source the National Geographic Everyday Mindfulness Special issue. And thank you all so much for joining me for this week's session. I hope you all have a mindful week ahead.